Pretend she's not here.
I'm going to keep looking down.
All right, here we go. Oh, you know what? I never swapped this out. Hold on. Almost messed that up.
Hello Daily Tech Show listeners, I am Dr. Spatzel. The Daily Tech News Show is brought to you by listeners just like you. If you would like to become a patron of the show, go to patreon.com/acedetect. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, July 15th. Would it be the Ides of July? I don't know. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today is Allison Sheridan, host of the NosillaCast. Welcome back, Allison. It's good to have you.
Hey, Tom, good to see you again. Looking forward to today's talk.
You came up with an interesting discussion. Lots of news out there. Mac Office 2016 came out. Today they announced the touch versions of Windows 10 available for insiders. And when you got to thinking about, well, what do we need to use? Do we need an Office suite? What parts do we still use? So we asked some listeners. You got some thoughts. I'm can't wait to talk about this. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun.
Let's get to the headlines first, though. The Verge passes along a Financial Times report that Apple and Samsung are working with the GSM Association to develop a new SIM card standard to make it easier to switch between services from your phone. The embedded SIM or eSIM would stay in the phone, let you switch your carrier without getting a new card. You would need dual SIMs anymore. Now, work on the agreement is still in progress. The GSM Association says they are positive about developments, but no agreement has been reached. They do want to create a new standard of some kind by 2016.
When you read this article, doesn't it make you realize that later on we're going to look back and go, why did we have SIM cards?
Yeah. No,
what was the purpose of that?
Absolutely. It's going to be like, well, I almost said like the cable box, but we used to have an extra box to change channels. It was a switch box when we first got cable in the 80s, and I was like, why did they do that? Why didn't they just broadcast them through the tuner or whatever? I do think that, yes, someday it'll just make sense that, well, you would do this in software. Like, the only reason to have a SIM card is to control you and stop you from switching between providers.
Right. No other objective at all.
And I can't wait for the email that tells me why you need a SIM card other than that, because I'm sure there are other reasons. I should never say only, but really, it was the main impulse behind it.
At least you're good to know that the internet will correct you, Tom.
Yeah, right. As an organism, the internet is always right.
There you go. Well, the Wall Street Journal reports Facebook's Oculus VR has agreed to buy Israel-based gesture control company Pebbles. Hand and finger gesture control made by Pebbles was recently integrated into the Oculus. Pebbles system lets users see their own arms and hands in their VR display, even including clothing and scars.
Yeah, I mean, the acquisition just makes sense. They've already put this in the Oculus. Why wouldn't you want to involve these people as your engineers to keep developing it? It's less about Facebook. It's all about Oculus VR. And really interesting that, unlike other attempts at this, which just kind of show generic arms, they can show you your particular arm with your clothes, your scars. Even if you hold something in your hand, a lot of times they can have that thing represented in the virtual world.
I think it's going to make it actually a little less freaky, though. I got to play with Oculus Rift at a friend of mine's house. He has the second version of the developer kit, and the thing that freaked me out the most was when I looked down and moved my arms and they weren't moving.
Or they weren't there at all. In some cases,
yeah. Or actually, when a little kid bumped into me in the real world, and I went, because I couldn't see her and I couldn't see my arms. Where'd they come from? VentureBeat reports eBay has confirmed that it's selling its enterprise services business, eBay Enterprise, for $925 million. That's about $1.5 billion less than what they paid for it when they acquired GSI Commerce in 2011, which they turned into eBay Enterprise. eBay Enterprise does e-commerce sites for retailers. The buyer is a consortium consisting of investment companies. eBay officially spins out PayPal as a separate company tomorrow, Friday. PayPal begins trading on the NASDAQ on Monday, so they have essentially spun out everything but their core marketplace. And they just had their earnings. eBay revenue rose 7% last quarter with PayPal and Enterprise on board. Although if you take PayPal and Enterprise out, the core marketplace had its revenue fall. They say due to currency fluctuations, but the core marketplace needs a boost. Basically, eBay's been making most of their money through PayPal. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm hopeful to see that maybe PayPal on its own can get a little bit more innovative into a lot of the mobile space stuff. Because PayPal had the opportunity to kind of own the mobile payments industry, and yet they haven't really done anything great. You've got Apple Pay and Google Pay out there, and it just sort of seems like PayPal's been just treading water a little bit. Maybe they can get a little more inventive now.
Lau Roman in the chat room is already correcting me, saying it's not just the SIM that prevents you from switching carriers. Yes, I know. I was just saying having the SIM cards makes it harder to switch. So if you pull it, he's like, it could actually make it harder, just more lock-in if you have the software, which is true too. So
good.
Immediate correction. Anyway, yes, you're right about PayPal. I have high hopes for what they could do independently.
Yeah. TechCrunch reports wearable maker Misfit has launched a new app today called Misfit Link that lets you use your Misfit activity tracker as a smart button. So, for instance, you click your tracker and your phone's camera activates. The app works with the Misfit Flash and a new cheaper Misfit Flash Link, essentially a flash without a wristband. The Link's iOS app is available now with Android coming next month. It will also add integrations with IFTTT, the 3 T's, and Logitech Harmony remotes over time. Misfit also lowered prices for its existing trackers. I tell you, Tom, I went over to their site and I read and looked, and I can't figure out what that Flash Link thing is, because there's Flash and there's Link and then there's Flash Link. Well, and I can't figure out what it is.
There's 3 things. The Flash is the wristband. And it's a plastic wristband. There's also the Shine, which is aluminum. The Shine doesn't work with the Link app, by the way. So there's the Flash with the wristband. The Flash Link is basically just the Flash without the wristband. And then you have the Link app. And what the Link app does is allow you to program it to say, hey, when you tap on your Flash, whether it's the Link or just the regular Flash, do this thing. And that's why it'll eventually integrate with IFT, because that's exactly what IFT does. It creates associations. So you could say, turn on the lights in my home when I tap it, or have my phone take a picture when I tap it. So it's just an app and 2 devices.
But if you look at the Flash page on Misfit's site, it has a wristband version and a clip version, both under Flash.
No, they're showing the Flash without the wristband so that you can replace wristbands. But then the Flash Link is just basically the Flash sold without the wristband.
So is a Flash Link all by itself, is it a fitness tracker?
Yeah, it just doesn't have a wristband.
A switch?
Yeah, you just keep it in your pocket, I guess. They both have the switch, the Flash and the Flash Link.
Okay. I don't get it. But hey, it's only $20.
There was we used the TechCrunch story because the PC World article had a mistake in it and said there was no LEDs on the Flash Link. And I know that confused you at first as well, because there are LEDs on both of them.
Right.
That confused me too.
I have no idea what this thing is. Okay.
It's just a fitness tracker that has an app that lets you program it to do a single thing when you tap it. As well as doing the normal fitness tracker things that it always would do.
For only $20.
Yeah.
Selfies.
Without the wristband. Yeah. It's plastic. Okay. We got another one for you. See if this one makes more sense. Far from being just a button, The Verge notes that the Move, M-O-O-V, has announced a newly designed version of its AI fitness tracker coach called Move Now. Sounds like a command. It's smaller than the original Move, has a more breathable wrist strap and a replaceable battery. It also allegedly improves on Move's coaching features with new apps that are specifically for running, swimming, cycling, boxing, and timed workouts. The AI talks to you throughout the workout. That's the AI coaching part of it, encouraging you, giving you tips, telling you like, oh, if you want to hit your pace, you need to pick up your pace, etc. Pre-orders start today at $59 with a jump in price to $99 when it ships this autumn.
The Verge article that you linked to really made me like this because they spoke to one of the problems is a lot of these fitness trackers collect data. My iPhone, man, it's collecting data, and it's putting it on my phone, and I got a lot of data, but it doesn't tell me what it means. And they're saying that the AI fitness tracker software from Move is actually going to give you some information about it. Like, hey, you did this before, maybe you want to try this. You're not doing this enough. You should try doing that. And I think that's one of the problems with a lot of these trackers is they give you data, but they don't tell you what to do about it. I'm real curious. I don't know whether that one does sleep tracking, but I've got a real pet peeve about. I've got a big pet peeve about sleep tracking. The sleep trackers track your data. And then what do you do about it? It doesn't have you track why you didn't sleep. So it doesn't track like alcohol or caffeine or reading or watching TV.
Thing. I don't think that the science is enough to really definitively say why you need sleep. So, yeah, it's interesting to know whether you slept or not, because then you could say, oh, well, no wonder I feel tired. I obviously didn't sleep very well. But then, yeah, beyond that.
Because you would never figure that out on your own if you didn't have a device telling you.
Well, sometimes I feel like I slept through the night, but I'm still tired. So this could confirm or deny whether it was that or whether.
And give you nothing to do about it, right?
Yeah, that's just, little bits of knowledge. Eventually, we might find a solution.
There you go. Well, The Verge reports Motorola has invited the press to a live stream event on July 28th at 9 a.m. Eastern. The text reads, "Your relationship status is about to change. XOX Moto." Although the O could also be a G, as in the Moto G.
Which it probably is.
I forgot about Motorola.
Yeah, they're Lenovo's company. Remember? They make phones. Yeah. So
there's a lot of money in that.
Bunch of Droid leaks, bunch of Moto X leaks, but Moto G leak. I mean, it's going to be new phones. And my guess is, based on this invite, that they're going to try to talk about them as social networking devices to help you with your relationships or something.
Okay.
Ars Technica reports that Intel will build a third generation of 14-nanometer processors, delaying the switch to 10 nanometers to the second half of 2017. That sound you're not hearing is Intel missing a beat in Moore's Law. We should be having a talk, I think, and we're not. We're just getting another tick. Or I may have that reversed. Intel CEO Brian Krzanich confirmed the delay in an investor call. Skylake will follow Broadwell later this year, but then be followed by Kaby Lake in 2016 instead of Cannon Lake, which is now pushed to the second half of 2017. They still intend to switch to 10 nanometers after that. Krzanich said also that the more regular 2-year process time frame is still their long-term desire, so they haven't given up on Moore's Law yet.
So this doesn't necessarily mean that Moore's Law is wrong. This just means that Intel is not obeying the law.
You know what? Moore's Law is just a nice little fiction. Everybody gets so excited. Well, what is actually Moore's Law? What did Moore actually say? And does this violate Moore's Law? You know what? None of that really matters. What you just said is the only real important thing, which is, wow, Intel just had a delay with their 10 nanometer process because 14 nanometers was harder to roll out than they thought, and it looks like 10 nanometers might be harder to roll out than they thought. So these chip advances may be slowing down. I mean, that's the real takeaway here, right?
Yeah. I just wanted to say they disobeyed the law.
I know. That's what everybody wants, right? Everybody wants to get all hung up on did Moore's Law
prosecute?
Is this it? And yeah, I think we should. I think we should take Brian Krzanich before the Tribune. Oh, you know what though? But we hold all of our court on the internet with Reddit, and they're in trouble right now. So we really can't pull them in front of the court of public opinion right at this moment.
I like it. Well, Engadget passes along that Samsung announced it has begun testing Samsung Pay for select owners of the Galaxy S6 and S6 Plus in Korea. Samsung Pay combines NFC with the Loop Pay technology for simulating a magnetic stripe. Now, do we know much about Samsung Pay? Is there a secure enclave on the phone like there is on the iPhone, or is it cloud-based?
They announced it when they announced it the last time. They said that it would be isolated, an isolated process, and all of that. And this is just our first look at it in the real world. We've been waiting for them to roll it out. We thought it might come with the new Galaxy, and it didn't. So people were a little surprised about that. But now it looks like they finally are getting out. With the big conversation we had at DTNS about this when they announced Samsung Pay was less about the security part of it, which a lot of people are looking at and paying close attention, and you should listen to those people if they come up with something wrong with it, but more about the race for adoption, which is to say, Apple Pay's slow adoption is partly because you have to find a retailer that takes it. What Loop Pay does for Samsung is gets around that and says anybody that takes a magnetic card reader can use our system. But they're taking so long to get it out.
The magnetic stripes are going to be gone.
Yeah.
NFC chips will be there. Well, the reason I was asking about that was because at Mobile World Congress, Infineon was saying that their chips allow you to store that data in the cloud or locally. And that's why I was curious whether they had come through with any more information on that. But yeah, the magnetic stripes are going away. All the terminals are going to be NFC anyway, and they may or may not take Apple Pay. Just because they have NFC doesn't mean they'll take it, as we've discussed at length.
All right. Our next story begins.
Xiaomi
Introduced 2 new non-cell phone products, according to CNET. The new 48-inch Mi TV 2S Smart TV sports a slim 9.9 millimeter aluminum frame, 60 frame per second Samsung 4K panel, and runs the MIUI TV interface, all for 2,999 yuan. That's about $480 US. In China, starting July 28th. The other product announced was the Mi Water Purifier, selling for 12.99 yuan. That's about $210 US. Capable of cleaning up to 76 barrels of water a day, and available at the Xiaomi website in China soon. And all their stuff in China is sold over the web. So the TV is not that big of a surprise. 48-inch TV, 4K panel, their first 4K TV. That's interesting. The expansion into, they've done an air purifier. Now they're doing a water purifier. Very important product in certain places in China. So I think they're making a good bet there. You don't see a whole lot of companies out there doing that kind of diversification. You don't see Apple coming out with air purifiers.
No, Samsung though, right? Samsung makes everything. You know what's sad about this announcement is that I didn't get excited about the TV. I figured for you and me living in Southern California that it was the water purifier we might actually need.
Right. Well, there's kind of the same reason.
There's some sewer runoff down the street at this park, and I'm thinking.
I mean, air purifier and water purifier, Beijing, Los Angeles, it's
might be
not that far apart.
Our air is pretty good now.
Now, Xiaomi it's better than Beijing's. I'll grant you that. Xiaomi is not rolling these products outside of China for now, but you think a water purifier might actually.
Oh yeah.
A good one to roll out in other places, not even just here, but India, South America, Africa.
Sure.
So a good worldwide product as well.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a lot of money or small money for water purifiers.
It seems, from what I have read from the people who follow this market more closely, that this amount is on the high side, but probably worth it.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, Gadget reports that Yola has found its first Sailfish OS licensing partner. India's second largest phone maker, Intex Technologies, will sell Sailfish-powered phones and help develop a regional mobile ecosystem called Sailfish India. Intex will release Sailfish phones in India in late 2015, possibly along with Sailfish 2.0.
Yeah, Sailfish 2.0 coming to the tablet first, but it might come to these phones.
In the Engadget article had a video made by the Yola people all talking about Sailfish, and I found it so bizarre that a phone made by an Indian company, Indian OS, being sold in India, and they had a white woman doing the ad all through it. I mean, not that she couldn't be Indian, but it just seemed like a real weird marketing thing. And then they're talking about how this is a new OS, but they emphasize the fact, hey, it runs Android apps.
Yeah, and that's the challenge for any of these operating systems, is to be differentiated but also acceptable for the people who are like, yeah, but I've got a bunch of Android apps. I love my particular Android app. Can I run my Android app? I mean, BlackBerry's running into the same thing.
Sure.
So that is an interesting part of this is how to bridge that gap and get people to be willing to switch because you give them Android apps, but not have them just stay in the Android ecosystem and never adopt your own ecosystem. And I think that's why it's important for them to partner with Intex to create this Sailfish India ecosystem, because even though Intex is going to be helping their competitors here, if they can get other manufacturers to get on board, then you start making that developer ecosystem more sustainable.
Yeah.
We get a lot of stuff from our subreddit. Several stories you've heard of already today came as suggestions in our dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com subreddit. So if you haven't jumped in there and looked around, please do so, and please do some voting. Even if you don't feel like submitting articles, which you can do as well, vote on the ones you think will be interesting before the show. I mean, vote 24 hours a day, but before the show, we will look at that, and we will actually, make some calls based on that. Reuters says Amazon customers ordered 34.4 million items during Amazon Prime Day. The sale broke records set by last year's Black Friday sale on Amazon, yet habichuelacondulce sent us the Time.com article noting that many Twitter users weren't impressed. Example Twitter posts included "one huge troll by Amazon" and Amazon's Garage Day sale, and when I die, I want whoever was responsible for hashtag Prime Day to lower me down into my grave so I can be let down one more time.
At least that's creative.
Yeah, it was pretty creative. There's nothing in logic that says you can't make trolly comments on Twitter while ordering a cheap Chromebook or router from Amazon Prime Day sale. Evidence seems to indicate this may have happened more than once.
I think one of the mistakes they made was at least the earliest stuff I could see was really garage sale. I went in and I was, we were looking for a small TV for the kitchen. I thought, let's go check it out on Prime Day. And I went into TV, and there were 7 items. So I clicked on, coming soon, because they were spacing out throughout the day. It was the same 7 items, none of which were TVs. And they were like little component stuff, but not even like big things.
Accessory type stuff,
There was a Fire Stick in there, was a nice price, but that was about it. So you know what? I didn't go back. So maybe things got better.
Yeah, and one wonders if it changed up. My problem with these kinds of sales, not just yesterday, but Black Friday sales or Singles Day sales, is that you really have to work harder than you need to find the thing that you want that you would have bought anyway for a cheaper price.
Like
and I don't think the opportunity cost usually works out. Maybe it does sometimes. I don't know.
Probably true of most sales.
Yeah.
Well, some joker named spsheridan noted the Engadget article, The Last Starfighter writer Jonathan Betuel is developing a TV series called The Starfighter Chronicles with added VR content. The series will be about alien law enforcement, but certain scenes will have more to them if you're viewing in a VR headset. Betuel is working with folks at Surreal TV and hoping to get someone to pick up the project either for network or streaming.
Yeah, I got really excited about this article until I got to the point where he hadn't got a distribution deal yet. But maybe he still will. And I love the idea not only of something in the Last Starfighter universe, but also something that has a little virtual reality hook like this. I think that's cool.
Yeah, should be fun.
And people should note that she called SP Sheridan a joker, not because she hates our audience, because that's her husband. It's quite the opposite. And that's a look at the headlines. All right, let's talk Office. Office for Windows 10. Details announced today. This is the touch version of Office, not the desktop version of Office. Office 2016 is the version that is out for Mac and is coming for Windows that you install on the desktop. Office on Windows 10 for touch is the one that is meant for that Metro style. Not supposed to say that anymore. Tiled interface style.
The interface formerly known as Metro.
Yeah, right. You can require. It will require an Office 365 subscription if you are using it on a PC or on a tablet with a greater than 10.1 inch screen, like a 12-inch tablet, mostly. It counts against your total Office 365 subscriptions, but not in any category. This is classic Microsoft right here. You can have up to 10 devices, 5 mobile and 5 desktop in your Office 365 subscription. Aha! But if you've got Office for Windows 10, the touch-enabled version, it just counts against the 10. So if you've got 5 mobile taken up already, it'll just count against the desktop. But if you've got 5 desktop taken up already, it'll just count against the mobile.
Well, that's kind of nice.
It is nice. It just
confusing as always.
It just complicates things. And also that's, you're talking about there's free versions for the smaller ones. If you're on a tablet, you wouldn't have to pay for the subscription for this. But it's coming. The preview will be removed from the app names. If you've noticed as an insider and you've been using it, they've changed it to be named mobile so that it's distinct from the desktop version that you might buy. And of course, we talked earlier about how Office 2016 for Mac is out now. Walt Mossberg had his Recode review of it, and he calls it on par with Windows. It works very well. It's no longer the redheaded stepchild, Allison, that I know you and I remember when you had to use Entourage to get your mail instead of Outlook.
Yeah, I started thinking about this because my feelings are kind of all over the map. I haven't given Microsoft money since 2011, and I gave them money today, right before the show started.
and that's not because they sent a debt collector after you and you refused to pay your bills. You just haven't bought anything from them.
No, I haven't bought anything from them. And so the fact that they made somebody like me want to give them money, I think, is astonishing. They've gone from the company that I love to hate to somebody like, hey, they're not creepy anymore. They're doing all these really cool things and inventive things on the iPad and the iPhone and the Mac and OneDrive and OneNote and these things are, is it SkyDrive? I keep forgetting which one's the new one.
It's OneDrive now.
OneDrive now.
Yeah. You can thank Sky TV for that.
Why wouldn't I? Right, why wouldn't I want to go buy that? But then that got me thinking about how cool it is that we have so many alternatives. I mean, we can do the Microsoft Office route, but we can also do the LibreOffice, OpenOffice. We've got iWork that, you know, if I have to do a presentation, I might use Keynote, but the rest of it I don't really like that much. But it's just spectacular that we have so many cool choices. And of course, the Google Docs for collaboration is wonderful.
Yeah, and so we asked people on Google Plus and the Daily Tech News Show Facebook page what they use for Office, and there was variation. We got one guy on Twitter said Lotus Symphony. We had several LibreOffices, but by and large, people said I use Office or Office 365 for work, and I use Google Docs for play or for my own stuff or for my personal stuff. Does that ring true to you, Allison?
Well, I used to work, and when I did go to a day job, it was Microsoft Office at work, but it was Microsoft Office at home. I've been retired for a couple of years now, and I do have a choice. I've probably been using Google Docs more than anything, doing collaboration with that joker Sheridan, but I still reach for Excel when it comes to a spreadsheet. I don't think Word even needs to exist unless you're writing a book or a thesis or something. I mean, everything we can do in TextEdit. You said use TextEdit, Simple Note, Notepad. Most of us don't do anything beyond making a title bold or something. You know, maybe you might center it up if you're feeling frisky. You know, that's about all you do. You don't do footnotes and pagination, all this kind of stuff when you're writing for yourself. I think, at least that's been my observation. But when it comes to Excel, I mean, I just tried to do I'm kind of an Excel nerd, and I tried to do a QFD in Google Docs, and you can't make your text vertical. Just something as simple as that. It's like, it's okay if you want to make little lists and add 7 numbers, you're okay.
Yeah, the more I thought about it, the more I realized how much more distributed my productivity apps are than they ever were 10 years ago. I mean, 10 years ago, I used OpenOffice. And maybe I would have to use, I think when I went to CNET, I had to use Microsoft Office for a couple of Excel spreadsheets. But essentially that was me using an Office suite for everything. These days, the more I read these comments, and we'll have a link to the Google Plus thread and the Facebook page in the show notes, go look at them. There's a really interesting diversity in how everyone combines these things. Even though we notice these 2 big main themes, none of the 2 responses are exactly the same. Like, one person uses Google Docs for personal work, but LibreOffice for work, and Microsoft Office in compliance work. And that's the same for me. I use Google Spreadsheets for all of my podcast rundowns, except for FSL Tonight, where we use Google's word processing Google Docs. I use TextEdit, like you say, for just taking notes when I'm writing up a quick headline or just taking notes on things. I'll use Simple Note when I'm taking notes on something I want to use cross-platform. For instance, my fantasy sports league, I will use Simple Note to write up my weekly updates to the league, because I don't know if I'll be on my laptop or my desktop when I'm finally getting around to posting them, so I want them available. I'll put recipes in Simple Note. I use OpenOffice for writing when I'm actually doing, like, I'm writing on a novel or working on a layout, but then I will move that to Microsoft Word for the final edits, because I need to have it in Word's layout to make it work better with the publishing company that I work with.
For compliance.
Yeah, exactly. It is my own version of compliance. And then I use Excel for actual spreadsheets that I'm going to send to someone else, because I found when I make OpenOffice spreadsheets, a lot of times they end up having
weird.
Pivot tables don't work the same or something, and so it's just easier, since I'm already going to have Office, to use Excel for that. So I'm all over the place on this stuff.
Right. You bring up OpenOffice and compliance. I used to use a Mac in a Windows-centric company, and what I found in the old days, if I used Office on the Mac, it was frequently incompatible with the people I needed to share it with, so I had to use OpenOffice in order to be compatible with the people using Windows Office.
Yeah.
So it was just this weird aberration that Microsoft couldn't even make itself compatible.
I did work with a few people who had OpenDoc format. And in the early days, only Star Office and OpenOffice used ODF, so you'd have to use it for that. And I use I should say I use the LibreOffice fork now rather than the OpenOffice suite. And I'm not sure where the political sensitivities lie on those, but I started using LibreOffice at some point and I've stuck with it. But I'll be honest, I probably work in Microsoft Office more often because of compliance issues, like you say, and I probably work in Google Docs or Google Spreadsheets the most often of all of those.
But I think it's okay. I think it's good that we have this one central point, especially now that the Windows and Mac versions are the same, that we have one common place to have a file format and everything work exactly the same. So that way I can choose my operating system, you can choose your operating system, and yet we can all come and play together. I think that's nice. I also think it's interesting that we haven't really talked about presentation software. I personally think that all presentation software should be put to death immediately. I think it's the demise of thought as we know it. I remember years ago my brother she had a really smart daughter, and she was in a Montessori school, and they made her do a PowerPoint presentation when she was 7. It was like you're taking that explosive brain and just cramming it into this little 8.5 by 11 piece of glop that, so she can have bullets and sentences. It was horrific.
Yeah. Ever since I read there was a Department of Defense study that found out that when you have slides up on the screen, people comprehend less of what you say than if you don't. I've tried to avoid using them. There was one year where I did a talk when I was at CNET, and I did a talk at Google about upcoming hot products, and they said, "Can you make some slides for us?" And I said, "Okay." So I made them in Google Presentation, and then I sent them to them, and they said, "Can you make this in PowerPoint, please?" Now, granted, this was early days of Google Presentation, so they hadn't really refined it yet, but just the idea that it was like, oh man, then yeah, I don't think the presentation software helps nearly as often as people think it does.
My favorite case of that was my boss was unable to be at an all-hands meeting where they were doing a State of the Union address thing, and she was going to be able to fly in for this thing. And she had 6 minutes on the agenda, and she said, "Allison, can you fill 6 minutes?" I'm like, "I can fill 6 minutes, anything, no problem." So a week beforehand, the people organizing the event said, "Well, Allison, you need to send us your charts." I said, 6 minutes, charts?
Yeah.
Really? I wasn't going to have chart.
You should have a chart of how much time you've spent so far. 1 minute, 2 minutes.
The guy was going to cry. I thought he thought he was going to get fired if he didn't get it, so I made a chart. But I recently did a talk on the importance of using a password manager to a local user group, and I said, okay, well, they want a presentation, so I'm going to bring up a keynote, and I can make all these cool transitions, and I'm typing in bullet after bullet, and I'm going in a coma writing it. It's so boring, right? So I got rid of all the words, and I just put up pictures. Like one of the things was going to be, it's going to be too hard. So I found an open source picture of a little boy crying, and that's all there is on that chart. But everybody's going to remember what my point was at that point. I think use this to people later.
Right there, yeah.
Sorry, I talked over you. What'd you say?
No, I said I think that's a good use of it, like a visual aid.
Yeah. I was trying to, channel my inner Steve Jobs.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our pick of the day. Dixon sent this in and says he's not sure if it's considered tech, but we've done coffee on the pick of the day, Dixon, so don't worry. He was listening to yesterday's podcast about the taxi app for the visually impaired and said, I am reminded of a watch that doesn't need to be watched at e1time.com. That's EONE-TIME.com, E1Time. According to the webpage, the Bradley is the watch, and it's named after Brad Snyder, an ex-naval officer. Brad lost his eyesight in an explosion in Afghanistan in 2011. Brad competed in and won gold and silver medals in swimming at the 2012 Paralympics in London, and this watch was made, or at least inspired, by him. And it has a feelable interface, so you can feel where the minute and second hands are, or I guess the minute and the hour hands are, and different widths for all of the hours, so you know what marks are on there. Dixon says, I'm not even visually impaired, but this is a great device if you need to know the time and you're trying not to be rude.
Wow, it's also really awesome looking. It's really industrial.
It's not cheap either. It's a couple $100 for the cheapest version of this. But yeah, it's got a great industrial design. I haven't used it, so I can't, swear to whether it works well or not. But Dixon seems to like it, so he's passing it along to you.
Very cool.
It's the Bradley from E1. Again, that's EONE-time.com. I'll have a link in the show notes if you're interested. DailyTechNewsShow.com/picks for all our picks. Got a couple of messages of the day before we get out of here. Erling said, I think something you might should have discussed. He said, I'm trying to avoid, he wrote, I think something you might have missed in yesterday's discussion. Just because we didn't mention something doesn't mean we missed it. We only have so much time. So what Erling's trying to say is, I've thought of something else in that discussion of Reddit in regards to the comment that Reddit was never supposed to be a bastion of free speech. Actually, in this case, he's probably right that we missed it. Scott Johnson was trying to remember a quote, and we thought we found a quote from Steve Huffman that didn't say anything about bastion of speech. He says, here's the relevant quote. Speaking of the Founding Fathers, this is Alexis Ohanian, quoted in Forbes, speaking of the Founding Fathers, I asked him what he thinks they would have thought of Reddit. A bastion of free speech on the World Wide Web? I bet they would like it, Ohanian replies. It's the digital form of political pamphlets. So it appears at the bottom of the article. We've got the link here. Best wishes from the UK, Erling. So there you go. Smoking gun. Alexis Ohanian did use the words bastion of free speech at one point in regards to Reddit. Allison, does this make any difference of them saying we never meant it to be a bastion of free speech, even if he used those exact words at one point?
I don't think so. I mean, it's real easy to say free speech until it turns as creepy as things have turned. So I don't hold the gun to their head on that.
It seems to be a side argument of like, look, they're saying we never meant it to be a bastion of free speech, and then somebody points out this article and says, well, you said it was going to be a bastion of free speech. It's beside the point. The point is, where should the line be? And Ellen Powell has a very well thought out article in the Washington Post. I don't necessarily agree with everything she said about the way communities work, but it's an excellent insight into her perspective on the challenges of running a community like that. I mean, the community of the internet, and what those very real problems are.
Yeah, Odocta said something really interesting over on the Twit network. He said that he doesn't want them to hide these creepy communities. He says, I don't want you to hide the snakes in the grass. I want to know where they are.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, and there's lots of different ways to go about that. What Ellen Powell was trying to point out was there are trolls everywhere, and they are not pleasant. And when you're dealing with a site the size of Reddit, less than 1% of them acting bad is thousands and thousands of instances. So it becomes an entirely different thing. Now, I think there are lots of different ways of dealing with this, and I'm also not Ellen Powell, and I didn't have to deal with what she had to deal with, so I might be a little more negative about this sort of thing if I were in her position. But she comes to the same conclusion I do, which is she thinks we can win against the trolls. My feeling on this is all of this trolling is us learning how to deal with a new tool. And we have to actually, confront this, and this is where I agree with what you're talking about with Odocta. We have to confront these issues head on and not try to shuffle them off under the rug in order to be able to grow up as a society and learn how to act like responsible people with this brand new tool that we've been given as humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds easy. That's all we have to do?
Yeah, and it's going to take decades, so
okay.
Don't expect an overnight solution. Martin wrote, I love your show and wanted to drop a line about the repercussions of Firefox killing Flash. I am the tech lead for an advertising agency, and as part of that work, I oversee the production of web banners for major brands. Up until this week, most of those were done in Flash, mainly due to inertia and cost savings. Chrome has set a date of November to make the change to HTML5 banners, and everyone in the industry was working with that date in mind. But Firefox killing Flash this week has caused us to put all of the banners being worked on this week, as well as some that were already about to be sent to ad networks. Overall, it caused a lot of ripples in advertising that pays for most of the content of the internet, just putting a new perspective on a story that slipped under most people's radar. So even if Firefox did put Flash back once it was updated, this definitely kicked some people in the pants, it sounds like.
Wow. Yeah, this is a complex problem because of the legacy stuff that'll be out there forever. I've always been kind of a rip the Band-Aid off quickly kind of person. Jump in, do it, get it done, because it always ends up costing you more if you wait. It only gets harder. The people who know how to fix it later are fewer. Just do it. Bite the bullet. Do it.
Yeah, if you can. It's ripping the Band-Aid off is not fun, but.
No. You have to rip it off really slowly. It's harder.
Yeah.
It costs more. And you still have to rip it off eventually.
Right? Exactly. Well, that is it for this show. Thank you, Allison Sheridan, for joining.
Yeah, this was really fun. I had something really cool this last week on my show. Dr. Marianne Gary, who's a professor at Victoria University in Wellington, was on my show. I purposely named my show so you couldn't figure out what it was about, which allows me to do whatever I want. She's a memory expert, but she talked to us about the difference between focus and paying attention. And it was a really, really interesting article that she specializes in making you doubt everything you think you know. And it's a really interesting discussion. She's also hilarious, so it's a really good show. So that was I forget the episode number, whatever the latest one was, over on podfeet.com.
Go check it out, podfeet.com, podfeet.com. You can follow Allison on Twitter with that same word, twitter.com/podfeet. Go do it. Thanks to our patrons, 5,061 people who feel like the show is valuable, and we cannot thank you enough. We are entirely flattered that many people feel the show is worth some value. If you're not one of them yet and you'd like to know how to become, if you're like, you know what, I get some value out of this show, I need to kick some value back, patreon.com/acedetect, ACEDTECT, or just go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. And just another mention, if you're going to Nerdtacular in Salt Lake City, this coming week from Friday, and you want a Daily Tech News Show Nerdtacular shirt, if you meet those two conditions, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/store, pick the shirt. It's got a cool design on the back that says Nerdtacular and has all of our folks' names in there, and then use the code 2sides, and you don't have to pay for shipping. And you just pick it up at Nerdtacular. And if you're not going to be at Nerdtacular, you can still buy the shirt. You just got to pay for shipping. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY, 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern at player.alphageekradio.com. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with Darren Kitchen and Len Peralta. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom.
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 Great show. What should we call it?
That was fun. I still want Jenny to come on sometime and go, God, that was a horrible show. You guys sucked.
Never.
I can do that from now on if you want.
Yeah, Roger's the
Roger's
man
job.
for that, right? I'm going to open a window in here. It's about 200 degrees in the office now.
It got warm, didn't it?
Yeah, hang on.
Got warm here, too.
Oculus
I like
wrist.
to move it.
Wrist. Oculus wrist.
That's pretty good. Oculus wrist.
Yeah.
Amazon has passed its Prime Day. Literally true.
Yeah.
PayPal needs a
I fought
friend.
Moore's Law and
PayPal needs
I won.
Less is more, huh? Wow, Dr. Payne's on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, someone please get some water.
Show me the water.
It's been suggested by my family that I exaggerate sometimes, by the way.
Always.
Back in my day, they used to be called tall tales.
It's only 78 in here.
Rotations per minute.
What's the humidity, though? I'm sure it makes it more.
Not so much the heat.
It's the humidity.
I'd like to move it. Move it.
The internet is always right.
In aggregate. I don't know. Anybody got a favorite?
Why are people writing things twice?
Twice is nice.
Oculus. I don't know, nothing
I
really
like
leaps out
Oculus
at me.
wrist.
I mean, I fought Moore's Law and I won. Maybe? I don't know.
I fought Moore's Law and I lost. More like it.
Yeah.
To lay the chip.
Yeah, are we allowed to change it?
Yeah, we can modify.
Amazon not so prime? Oh, I saw Amazon is past its prime.
Yeah, past its Prime Day.
I like that.
You like that? I'm still levelating. You can let it cook. Showbot.tv if you're watching or listening live. Make your vote. eBay puts eBay Enterprises on eBay.
Too bad every time you say the word enterprise, you just can't do the Sting from Star Trek, where they like dun dun dun, like a good solid morning radio.
Enterprise computing is not as exciting as being on the Starship Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
But really, what is? I mean, it's not like
Nothing.
It's not like the CEO of eBay Enterprise is suddenly going to lose their shirt in like mano-a-mano combat with an alien.
Or negotiate diplomatic relations with an alien.
You might just negotiate with the country. A whale?
A space whale.
What space whale?
Oh, Roger. Come on.
I'm going to entitle the episode.
Isn't that an onomatopoeia? Onomatopoeia.
You're onomatopoeia something.
Hey, Tom, how about that epic drawing that guy did of you? The painting drawing?
Oh, Ryan's drawing, yeah. No, he's been working on that forever.
Gosh, that's amazing.
He's really poured his heart into it. It's amazing.
Oh, that was fantastic. I want a shirt with you with the shirt on it.
Well, go buy it. He's got.
Did they have it for sale?
Yeah, Redbubble. He's got it on shirts and mugs and. Cool. Yeah, he emailed me this morning about some. He's put it on a few more products. It's Redbubble.
And then search for DTNS.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Just DTNS.
Mm-hmm.
A pillow. I don't know if I want to lay my little pillow on you. That's a little
that might
creepy.
Be a little weird.
A little.
He's just trying as many different things as possible, but no, it's really cool.
I mean, you could get one for Eileen, maybe, but
that might be creepy even for her.
She would want, yeah. I'll lay down. And
a duvet cover
open with the pillow.
He's got a duvet cover with all.
Yeah, he just put it on whatever they had at the store. I don't think it's.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
A notebook would be a spiral notebook. An iPad case
for your kids. Back to school's coming up.
Back to school
in August.
Yeah, they won't get kicked at all.
They have a shower curtain?
No.
The shirts. Can't tell what the shirt looks like.
I'm sorry, it's the sunglasses. They're causing large amounts of sass.
Yeah.
That's what caused it, right?
Did they give you any more than just... What did they use to dilate your eyes, Jenny?
I don't know, man. I've felt this way since Janet
I don't think she really went to the eye doctor.
You know what was really weird? I'll tell you what was really weird. So our cars are super dirty because we've been trying not to wash them with the drought, but it's like gotten so ridiculous. And then I found out my windshield wipers don't work. Like the water just kind of goes bleh, bleh, and doesn't really clean the window. So it created some odd combination where there was not enough water to clean, but enough to like grease the dirt, and all light in our windshield started refracting. And so as I was driving dropping someone off at the Burbank airport last night, basically it looked like an acid trip where the lights were being pulled out of like every light source on the way. It was like a video game. I took a video of it, which you can actually see as soon as I posted somewhere.
So you're saying you were seeing tracers?
I was, but everybody in the car was. Like, I had to turn them out and be like,
I swear, my eyes are dilated from the eye doctor, and the tracers are from the dirty window. I didn't take anything.
Crazy. It was crazy. I have video of it. I can prove it.
Sure,
it was
Jenny.
really bizarre.
I might suggest that in the drought they don't want you to do this.
I know. It was really wild, and it was just like I've never seen anything like that before on a car.
It's terrifying to me.
It was terrifying, yeah. My husband was like, I'm so glad you saw that.
You see it too, right?
You see it too, right?
Reminds me of many years ago, we were driving in Mexico with some friends, and I swear I saw a camel in the middle of the road. What? And I didn't say anything because I thought, you know, I'd had a couple of drinks. What the hell was that? And
I've had a couple of drinks. There's probably not a camel in the middle of the road.
Probably not. And then about 10 minutes later, somebody in the car went, Did you guys see a camel? It was in the middle of the highway.
Someone was brave enough to admit it.
That's awesome.
So there really was a camel.
Well, at least one that all four of us saw.
HBO now on more devices than ever. I finally got the email about the news that came out this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to learn more.
You can get Tom on an organic shirt. Gluten-free Tom.
Small batch. Artisan made. Gluten-free. Local artist.
So 1991 called and they want their music performances back because at the Grove next Wednesday, near where I work, the Spin Doctors and Lisa Loeb are playing.
Lisa Loeb.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did she ever score a boyfriend from that show she was doing?
I don't know, but I'll ask her because she's going to be around here.
And she'll be hoping to talk to fans.
That's right.
Should get her on DTNS.
I'll see what I can do about that.
You think I'm
Spin
kidding?
Doctors
I'm not.
alone would have been like, how 90s, but Lisa Loeb.
Lisa Loeb is like slamming the 90s home.
Right on.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it. I saw the Spin Doctors back in when was it? It must have been like 93.
So
at some little amphitheater
at
in
the
New
end of her
Jersey.
concert, I will pay you $10 if you run up and go, stay. I miss you.
I will. If only to get $10.
I'll give it to you once they've replaced Alexander Hamilton.
Okay.
Brand new Susan B. Anthony 10.
Oh, I need a floor nap.
Floor nap?
Oh, you don't know about floor naps?
Floor naps are key.
You've made it this far in life without learning about floor naps?
What,
When it's all too much, just lie down on the floor with a pillow. 10 minutes.
Doesn't even have to be a DTNS pillow.
Nope.
Probably shouldn't be.
I used to do telecons laying on the floor in my office.
Oh yeah, so there you
Yeah.
go. You're kind of on board.
Yeah.
I once had a 6-hour
always
conference
sleep
call,
one.
and
Oh.
I laid down through most of it because I was just like, this is unreal.
That's nasty.
Yep.
I specialized in canceling meetings.
Nice.
Yeah.
We don't need a
People
meeting for
loved
that.
mine. Yeah. I can't decide which shirt to buy. There's so many options.
Buy them all.
Racerback tee? I know I'll only wear the gray one. Think about it. If I got a dark blue one with you with the dark blue shirt, that'd be kind of meta. I really have this all I've been doing for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Ryan will be very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Now, I keep telling him, I keep insisting that he should keep some of the proceeds, but he has set it up so that they just all go automatically
Oh my God,
To the
really?
show?
to DTNS.
Are
Yeah,
you kidding me?
yeah, I know. I'm telling him, like, no, dude, you should keep it all.
Yeah.
But even if you don't want to do that, you should keep a cut.
Yeah.
We should automatically set up all payments from him to go back to him
Go back.
and just create an infinite time loop of money.
It just goes and automatically purchase something, which then sends more money to us, which then goes back to him.
Oh my God.
Where do you have this stuff shipped, though? To him?
Yeah, good question. Could be our giveaway budget.
That's right. Actually, what we should do, is if for any of that money, turn it right back around somewhere.
Oh, speaking of things for sale, the Teespring for Satchamania succeeded.
Funded? Oh,
So
that's amazing.
TVZ Gun said he got his notice. I got my notice too. Allison, based on what you were saying about Microsoft on the show, you might want to check out teespring.com/Satchamania.
I've been plugging that.
Okay, good.
So the SMR podcast guys have a group they call the Minions. They're a bunch of Windows fanatics, and so I posted it to the Minions.
Oh, good.
I talked about an SMR podcast last night too.
That's fantastic.
What do you mean it succeeded? Is Teespring like crowdfunded T-shirts?
Yeah, they basically say if you get a certain amount of orders, we'll make the T-shirt.
Oh, okay.
And I guess the idea is you get a little bit of a higher quality shirt.
If it wasn't mustard yellow, I was in.
Oh, I love
not my favorite color either, but it was too, even then, it was too
It's too funny not to.
Yeah.
It's hilarious that became a thing. That's, again, I love the internet.
Yep.
It's a love-hate thing.
Thanks,
Such a
Internet.
mania running wild.
There you go. Hey,
You
Jenny.
just sounded exhausted when we were talking about the Reddit stuff.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's like all we have to do is figure out how to deal with mean people.
Right.
Well,
Well,
that's-
that's actually a really great point, Allison, because it's true. I was talking about this with a friend yesterday, and the answer is not in the technology, really. You can noodle all around. It's like Instagram too. Like, you can noodle all around, do all sorts of complex things, but like the answer is in the people.
Yeah, the answer is not in the tools.
Yeah.
I mean, the tools might help you implement whatever answer.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm right there with you.
You're absolutely right.
It's
just yeah.
It's a social conditioning thing.
The only part that is the technology part is it's so easy to show off your horribleness.
Yes, and anonymously, and that's an enabling factor. But
Well,
people anonymously do lovely things too.
I 100% agree with you, Jenny, because right now the feeling is, I can be anyone I want on the internet, including a jerk. So even if most of us aren't being jerks on the internet, there are enough. It's the spam factor, right?
Yeah.
A small amount of them get a lot of attention and cause a lot of effect. And
what has to happen
to do as a society is figure out how to deal with that, because we've never had that. In a small community of 20 people, if one of them is a jerk, it's really easy to identify them and deal with them. And the reason I was expressing positivity is that I believe we will figure out how to deal with that. I see ways that people deal with that in smaller communities or in certain situations as the building blocks of us figuring it out. But the Reddit problem is just so large that it doesn't have an answer. You can't just say do X or put this algorithm in place.
I mean, it's kind of weird. It kind of reminds me a little bit about driving etiquette. It took a couple of generations for people, and this is something that you learn not just from people next to you, your family, but from friends, but also movies and TV show where where you watch a movie and they castigate individuals who are bad drivers in movies, and so you learn that there's a certain etiquette to the way you drive where you're not a jerk. And I think the same thing needs to happen with technology, where people, as a society, people who are asshats online are kind of are represented that way, and they really aren't at this point. They're kind of seen as kind of like being very clever.
They're not really represented.
Yeah,
you don't see that character very often.
No.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think there needs to be a larger outgrowth where people say, well, okay, that's not socially acceptable. I mean, you can take discrimination against women or minorities. I mean, I think Soul Man back in the 80s was the last out and out, like, whoa, what was this movie made for? But things like that level of sensitivity trickles down, especially in a large population. I mean, granted, these individuals are small, but the way they connect with other people is on a very grand scale. And
another thing to take into account is that each of us have some asshatness in us. And our hidden asshatness comes out more on the internet.
Anonymously, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm far less asshatty in real life than I am on the internet.
Actually, I'm kind of the same. Tom will back me up on this.
I think what the difference, I think it's the same thing we're saying, where we haven't learned all the rules, is why you're saying that. Is like we all have jerky behavior, and it seem like it comes out on the internet more because the rules are different. You know how to act at a dinner party. You know how to act in a store.
Do I?
I'm hardly
except for Jenny, except for some notable exceptions.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I mean. Like, we know the rules anyway, even if we ignore them. We don't really know the rules on the internet. We're inventing the rules right now.
So here's the thing, though, that I've thought about, and I've been wanting to ask you, Tom, at the risk of being public right now, because we are still live, no, it's not terrible, but I would love to know whether you have less trouble with trolls than other people with similarly sized audiences maybe talk a lot about.
Well,
I don't.
If we want to do a gender split, I definitely have less trouble with trolls than female people who do the same thing as me. That's just a common commonality.
I don't have troll problem, but it could be because I'm
subset of the problem. I don't know that I have less trouble. I don't know.
Your moderators have to clean up your Reddit a lot? Whereas the subject material and your attitude maybe set the rules of how you expect people to behave.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't get the feeling that Kyle has to do a whole lot to clean up the subreddit, but I know he has stuff to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I get where you're going, which is if you set a good example up and down your community from top to bottom, and I'm not even just talking about myself here, I'm talking about any organization, it makes the problem less than if you just turn on the community and let it run without any kind of role setting or maintenance or informing how the community should act. So whether it's the volunteers who do that, Lee Koo at CNET, he set the tone for the CNET forums and the CNET community. He was that guy there, and he made that community a lot better community because of it. You got to have those people, and if you get a large community, you got to have more of those people. So.
Well, I think about it like if I go into a reasonably nice restaurant and I go into the restroom and there's toilet paper on the floor and paper towels, and I will actually go pick them up and throw them away. Because I know that the next person comes in, they're not going to throw it on the ground because there's nothing on the ground. And it's sort of like...
Well, it's the same way as when you go into a neighborhood where there's broken glass, you will fix the windows in all of those buildings.
Well, not if the whole place is a bunch of broken windows, right? If it's a creepy place. I mean, a gas station, I'm not going to go pick up those paper towels. But if it feels like it's kind of a nice place and just the person before me was kind of jerky, I might clean it up.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think Roger's example of driving is a really good one because we're cut off from the rest of humanity when we drive. And so it has taken us a while. I think that's why we had epidemics of road rage. Yeah. Us learning how to deal with the fact that, oh, I'm not in proximity to another person, but there's still another person there.
Yeah. So not to change this amazing topic, but Tom, we're in agreement that we have to make $250 million on Ant-Man to have a chance, right?
Hey, I'm going to go to my haircut on that note.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you, Allison.
I thought we were making $250 million, and I got all excited.
I got excited there for a second, too, until I understood what she was talking about. But
how much?
Yeah, probably.
Sales.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks again, Allison.
So 250, right?
Is it 250? I mean, yeah, probably. I haven't run the numbers, but I'll. That sounds reasonable.
We're at 228 right now.
Yeah.
That's to be 250 to even have a shot at second place.
All right, let me look real quick before we go. Okay, so what's going to happen is Minions is going to go up to what, 300?
Yep. By the end of the summer.
So that's another 150 there. They're probably not going to get much more out of Jurassic World.
I think their 600 million is probably enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's they'll probably top 600 million, but then it'll stall out. So that's it. They're going to end up
800.
at 840 million, 845 million, which means that we have to make 620 out of the rest of our movies.
4 movies?
Yeah. 620 divided by 4. I should be able to do in my head, but you know what? I don't anymore because I'm an old man. So 620 divided by 4. Sorry, Grandpa. 155 each.
Oh, boy.
For Ant-Man, Vacation, Mission Impossible, Fantastic Four. Vacation's not going to make that.
No.
So what do you think Vacation makes? 70?
If we're lucky.
50?
I'm going to say 50 so we have worst case scenario.
So each one of the other movies has to make 188.
Oh, boy. I mean...
Or let's call it 200.
Let's just call it 200.
The blockbusters all have to make 200, and then we have a shot. Which they could. Here's the thing. I don't know where Mission Impossible is going to end up.
Yeah.
It could be 148, and I would not be shocked. It could be 300, and I would not be shocked. I have no idea. That all depends on what people think of it.
Outside the plane.
Right? But that goes either way, right? It could either be like, oh my God, like you're saying, is outside a plane, or it could be like, this time they went outside a plane and it just didn't make any sense.
No, I know. We'll see. So yeah, each movie has to basically make 200 million.
Yeah.
That's a tall order. Thanks a lot, Pan. Remember when we had Pan?
Yeah.
And we felt
Instead
a lot better about this game? No. Was Selfless the one, or was Vacation the one we got? I think Vacation is what we got.
Vacation
Selfless
and Pan is actually not that far off.
I think Pan would have done well.
Vacation's getting a lot of press.
That's true.
So I don't feel bad about Vacation. I feel horrible about Selfless. Freaking $7 million.
$6 million.
7.5. 7.5 now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Makes all the difference.
Makes all the difference.
All right. Well, that is it for us in the post show. Thank you all for coming. Stay tuned for the Daily Gizwiz after we weep about the movie draft.